ಸಂಸಾರದಾನಲಲಿದಲೋಕ ತ್ರಣಯ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಗಣ ಗಣತ್ವಂ प्राप्तस्य कल्याण गुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसुरसेन रोमाञ्चकं पाशुतरङ्गबाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधन नित्यानाना शृङ्गारतन्मन्तिरमाजनाद युक्तस्य भक्तां च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादो स्वादनतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् प्रतीक्षणा स्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयो नोरतिकेलिसेदय यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रादिदाक्षादतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षादरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोर्या प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसाद नगति कुतोऽपि दायं स्तुवं तस्य यस्य स्त्रीसन्ध्या वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhav, Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadramaya, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
ISKCON founder Acharya BBD founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Brahmhamsa Pradika Acharya Ashtota Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vinda ki jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haritha Thakur ki jai. Premise co-host Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Dadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Shri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Pradipumi Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Maya Pranava Dvip Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Shri Ayodhya Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glory to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Praladadayine. Hiranyakashipurvashaha. Shilatantanakalaye. Ito narsimho parato narsimho. Yeto yeto yami tato narsimho. Bahir narsimho hrudaye narsimho. Narasimhamadim sharanam prapadye. Tava karakamalavrenaka adbhuta shringa dalita hiranyakashipu tanbringa keshavadrita narahari rupa jai jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare. Hiranyakashipu tanbringa keshavadita narahari rupa jai jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare. Jaya Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev. Jaya Bhakta Pralad, Bhakta Pralad, Bhakta Pralad, Jaya Bhakta Pralad. जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय नरसिंहदेव की जय।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपाक्तिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपत्नीपदे सत्यवताराय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपाक्तिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपत्नीपदे सत्यवताराय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपाक्तिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपत्नीपदे सत्यवताराय नमो नमः।
वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो एय अभिलाषी राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो एय अभिलाषी ये तोमार शरण लोय तारा वंश पूर्ण होय कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन बासी मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंजे दियो वास नायने हेरी बो सदा युगल रूपरासी ए निवेदन दारो सकीरनुगाता कोरो सेवाधिकारादिये करो निज दासी दीना कृष्ण दासे को यही न मोरा होई दीना कृष्ण दासे को यही न मोरा होई श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न बासी श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न बासी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः नमो नमः यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदे जय वृंदे जय वृंदे जय श्री वृंदे जय निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवताय
विष्णुभक्ति प्रद देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः
Oh,
O
Tulsi,
Tulasi,
beloved of
beloved Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire is to attain the service of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. Where we take shelter of you, let me pursue. Bestow mercy upon him and make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire also grant me residence in the precious halls of Shri Vrindavan town. Thus, within my vision, I shall always behold the beautiful paths of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower, cowherd, and soul virgin. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love of Shri Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulasi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives over propagating holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider name the demigods like Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature pursuing the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to holy name the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities and strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualist activities, offering the Veda the fruit activities, karma, ganda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glory of holy name. 10. To have complete faith in the chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachments in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses. In order to achieve desired success, Krishna, Prema. Now let us offer most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just as thy trees who can fulfill to everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द की जय श्री चैतन्य शिक्षाष्टकम की जय चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहातावाग्निर्वापनं श्रियकैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधू जीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामितासादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनं नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रापिता नियमितस्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशमिहाजनिनानुरागः त्रिनाथपि सुनीचेन थरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानतेन कीर्तनीय सदा हरिः न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवता भक्तिर्हैतुकी त्वयि अयि नन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुध कृपया तव पादपङ्कज स्थितदूरी सतेशं विचिन्तय नयनं करदाशुरुदारय वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकनिश्चितं वपुर्कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमिषेण चक्षुषा प्रविशायितं शून्यायितं जगत् सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्रिषवा पादरतां पिन्नस्तु माम् अदर्शनां मार्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पतो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव न परः हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री चैतन्य शिक्षाष्टकम की जय Glory to Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean transcendental bliss and enables to fully taste the nectar for which all with anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone grants all benediction to human beings. Thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have been ascended, or transcendental energies, they are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Sanhamarjananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow that I fall into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death, and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, while my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant the holy name, while my voice choke up, while hair my body stand and end a recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering the moment to be like a great millennium. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything, everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai. Shri Mangala Charanam prayers Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshum Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Karave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Desha Tarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daidaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhavin Namaha Madhuryo Jala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karana Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virutapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaura Kisharaya Saksha Vairagya Murtaye Vipalambara Sambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumistvam Nirdishta Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarabhama Shri Jaganathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpa Om Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurati Shin Namaha Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabanto Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jaitam Srato Pangor Mamamanda Matergati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vindaranya Kalpa Jumadaha Shimadra Nakara Sinhasanatho Shimadradha Shila Govinda Devo Prishtari Bi Sivimano Smarami Shiman Rasara Sarambi Vamsivata Tatasita Karashan Vinu Saner Gopir Gopinatha Shri Yestuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Shri Guru Pranama Prayers Ki Jai. Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha
Anadiradi
Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam
Chintamani
Chintamani
Prakarasadmas Kalpa Vriksha
Lakshaviteshu Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasambrahma Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kavanandam Aravinda Dalayataksham Parharvatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasatvan Madhyavamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kilavilasam Shamam Chibangala Lalitam Yata Prakasham Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anganya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedesha Durlabham Adurlabham Atmabhakto Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantasu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo Vayuratapi Manaso Manipungamanam Sopyastiyat Prapadasimya Vichinta Tattve Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitum Jagadanta Kotim Yashakti Rasti Jagadanta Chayayatanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavitatiyo Manujasateva Samprapya Rupa Mahimasana Yana Pusha Suktaryam Eva Nikama Patitaistuvanti Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Patibhavitapi Starpiya Eva Nijarupataya Kalapi Goloka Eva Nivasati Kalatama Buddho Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churta Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundam Achintya Guna Swarupam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murtishu Kalanyani Natishtam Nanavataram Makaro Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhava Paramapamamyo
Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire. In abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shamsundar is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, and without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet He is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confidants, Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever-blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Sham Sundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the form of Rama, Nishinga, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Brahma Samhita ki jai, and Shrimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, verse number 1, Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse number 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janma Yasha Yato Vyad Itaratas Chartesha Vigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hidaya Adhikavaye Muyantiyat Surayaha Tejo Varimedam Yata Vinimayo Yacha Trisargo Misha Damna Smena Sadanirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the knowledge unto the heart of the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire, or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of material nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2 Dharma Pojita Kaitra Vocha Nirmatsiranam Satam Paramo Nirmatsiranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shividam Tapo Trayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vapurir Ishwaraha Sadyo Hide Avarudyate Tra Kriti Bihi Sususuvistakshanat. Complete completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kapataror galitam phalam sukhamukad amrita dravya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur ahoraska bhuvibhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami, therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantharaj Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantharaj Ki Jai. So today we're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 9, verse number 43 and 44. And it says, Sarva Veda Maya Maye Nedam Atman Atma Yoniya Praja Shrija Yata Purvam Yascha Mai Anusarate Sarva, all, Veda, Mayena, under complete Vedic wisdom, Idam, this, Atmana, by the body, Atma, you, Atma Yonina, directly born of the Lord, Praja, living entities, Shrija, generate, Yata Purvam, as it was herein before, Ya, which, Cha, also, Mai, in me, Anusirate. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. By following my instructions, you can now generate the living entities as before. By dint of your complete Vedic wisdom, and the body you have directly received from me, the supreme cause of everything. Now, this is a very wonderful verse. It makes it very clear. Krishna is the origin of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhava matak sarvam pravartate. Everything material and spiritual is coming from Krishna. And all knowledge and wisdom come from Krishna. He's the supreme cause of everything. This is very, very fundamental to understand about Krishna. What's amazing is the Brahma Samhita itself. And it is explaining who Krishna is in very choice and very, what you call, profound verses. And it says, he is an undifferentiated entity, ekopya sorochayetum jagarandakotim, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, it's not one world, millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. No one can come even close to this. Krishna is so unique, and there's no difference between potency and himself. And he's created hundreds and millions of universes, not just one. We're in one universe. And it says, now this verse, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadeva Hidaya Suvilokanti. Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Vachami. It's very similar to what we learned yesterday. That without love of Krishna, one cannot go back to Godhead. The whole purpose of spiritual knowledge is to love Krishna. And he is lovable. Everything about him is wonderful. And it says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. Tinged with the salve of love. Now, what did we read yesterday? Prabhupada said, in the present verse, this is yesterday's verse, stress is given in focusing love upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word kuryat is significant here. This means one must have it. One must have this love for God. It is just to stress that we must have more and more attachment to the principle of love. Now, this is the most, let's say, important thing in life. And everybody talks about it. There's so many songs about love. Is it not? In Hindi also, all these languages, all about love. But is it pure love of Krishna? No. Love my girlfriend, love my dog, love my country, love myself, love this, love that, you see. But here it's saying we have to direct our love toward Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then it says, the word kuryat is significant here. This means one must have it. Have what? Have love for Krishna. It is just to stress that we must have more and more attachment to the principle of love. Principle of love is we depend completely on Krishna. We have no other thought than serving the Lord. Therefore, we will organize all our activities to be in one way or other directed toward pleasing the Lord. Then it says, the influence Okay, so it's just to stress that we must have more and more attachment to the principle of love. The influence of Maya is experienced by the part and parcel spiritual entity, meaning the jiva, but it cannot influence the supersoul, the Paramatma. So Krishna is never influenced by Maya. Okay. The Mayavadi philosophers, accepting the influence of Maya on the living entity, want to become one with the Paramatma. But because they have no actual love for Paramatma, they remain ever entrapped by the influence of Maya and are unable to approach the vicinity of Paramatma. A rich miser does not know how to utilize his wealth, and therefore, in spite of his being very rich, his miserly behavior keeps him everlastingly a poor man. On the other hand, a person who knows how to utilize wealth can quickly become a rich man, even with a small credit balance. Okay, now Prabhupada's giving an example here. If you have assets, you should use them in the service of God. If you don't, then although you might have a lot of assets, your wealth is not really being used for any good purpose because of being a miser. So he says here, a rich miser does not know how to utilize his wealth. Well, when Prabhupada once was speaking, he said, India has spirituality, but is not, well, this is like 60 years ago, is not a rich country. America has riches, but not spirituality. So he said that if America and India work together, then there will be spirituality and wealth, and it can all be used to glorify Krishna. Right? So this use of wealth in the service of Krishna is the correct use of it. And simply hoarding money and using it for sense gratification is actually sinful. And it causes confusion and havoc in people's lives because they're not using the money properly. So it says here, a rich miser does not know how to utilize his wealth, and therefore, in spite of his being very rich, his miserly behavior keeps him everlastingly a poor man. On the other hand, a person who knows how to utilize wealth can quickly become a rich man, even with a small credit balance. Well, what does that mean exactly? You can say it's talking about something material, but actually it's talking about something spiritual. Because real riches is having love for Krishna and being protected by the Lord and being educated by the Lord and being always engaged in the Lord's service. Then you are actually wealthy. Why? Because Krishna is the wealthiest person. No one has more wealth than him. And when he sees his devotee is very serious about using everything in his service, there's no end to the wealth. Just like Prabhupada comes to America, this is a practical example of it. He comes to America, he only has $7 in his pocket. But in 11 years, he builds a huge movement that's worth hundreds and millions of dollars. There's an example. He starts with nothing except his love and determination to serve his guru, and he ends up with hundreds and millions of dollars, and still he's using every penny in the service of Krishna. So there's the proof right there. Right. And then next, Prabhupada explains something very important. That's why I spoke about Einstein yesterday. He says, the empiric philosophers, those who only accept what can be seen or perceived with the senses, they don't accept any other way of knowledge. The empiric philosophers, despite their theoretical knowledge of Brahman, cannot utilize the mercy of the Supreme Brahman, meaning Krishna, because they lack affection. So many impersonal philosophers remain everlastingly under the influence of Maya because, although they indulge in theoretical knowledge of Brahman, they do not develop affection for Brahman, nor do they have any scope for development of affection because of their defective method. Now that's a profound statement, and Einstein is an example of it. Why? Because he had no love for Krishna. He had no if he had any love, is for his own sense gratification, is for his own accomplishments, and is for his what you would call pantheism. Pantheism is the belief that nature is God. So, therefore, Einstein was actually stupid. He was not very intelligent. Why? One, he didn't believe in a personal God. And he didn't believe that God can award and punish people. Two, he didn't believe that there's life after death. Three, he didn't believe that there's a purpose for the creation. Four, he didn't believe in free will. He believed in determinism. Now, what is determinism? This is explained, well, the definition is there. It says, the doctrine that all events, including human action, are ultimately determined by causes external to will. Some philosophers have taken determinism to imply that individual human beings have no free will and cannot be held morally responsible for their actions. That was a belief of Einstein. And then he also advocated very, very adamantly that the United States produce the atomic bomb to use it to destroy the Nazis. Well, they destroyed the Nazis without using the atom bomb, but then they used the atom bomb on Japan. So here's a man who is completely confused, has no love for Krishna, but yet people consider he's the smartest person in the world. Now see, this is what Prabhupada did. He would often ask the devotees to organize meetings with prominent people. And then when they would come, he would have a discussion with them. And oftentimes, he would show that they were not really that brilliant or important. Sometimes there were some good people that came. But most of the time, there were people like Einstein, completely confused and believing things that are not true. Now, it's very interesting Einstein actually went to India, to Calcutta. Did you know that? And when he went there, instead of meeting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he went there in the 1930s, he met with Rabindra Thakur, right? Is that his name? Yeah. Who's a Mayavadi and a nonsense. And he had a long discussion with him. You see, he could have gone and met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and become maybe a devotee. But instead of going to see him, he goes to see Rabindranath Thakur, who was a Mayavadi and basically, a poet, but a nonsense person. Although he's supposed to be some great person in India. So here we see what happens when there's no affection for the Lord. One is completely bewildered. But yet, people think he's one of the smartest people in the world. But actually, he's one of the dumbest people in the world. And we should learn that without affection for Krishna, there's no, what you would call modus standi. You don't have any real position in life. You're just tottering on false philosophies and false concepts, and you stay completely, under the grip of Maya. And especially here where he says, the empiric philosophers, and Einstein was an empiric philosopher and scientist, despite their theoretical knowledge of Brahman, cannot utilize the mercy of the Supreme Brahman because they lack affection. So many impersonal philosophers remain everlastingly under the influence of Maya, because although they indulge in theoretical knowledge of Brahman, they do not develop affection for Brahman, nor do they have any scope for development of affection because of their defective method. So, this is why I chose to talk about Einstein, because he's an example of what we just read. He doesn't have any affection at all for God. Okay, so here Krishna tells Brahma, by following my instructions, you can now generate the living entities as before. So obviously Brahma had his position in the previous time also. By dint of your complete Vedic wisdom and the body you have directly received from me, the supreme cause of everything. So here Krishna is speaking about himself. He says he's the cause of everything. And he's given Brahma some special type of body by which he can be the secondary creator of the material universe. But of course, Krishna is the first and foremost creator of everything. Brahma is just the disseminator. He's spreading the seeds that Krishna has created. Okay. Then the last verse of this chapter, it says, I'll just read it. Oh, well, okay, that's right. We'll read it. Maitreya Uvacha Tasma Evam Jagat Shraste Pradhana Purushesvara Vrajashedam Svena Rupena Kancha Nabas Tirodate. The sage Maitreya said, after instructing Brahma, the creator of the universe, to expand the primeval to expand, the primeval Lord, the personality of Godhead, in his personal form as Narayana, disappeared. So, the sage Maitreya said, so this is a discussion between Maitreya and Vidura. This is going on chapter after chapter in this part of the Bhagavatam. After instructing Brahma, the creator of the universe, meaning Krishna, to expand, the primeval Lord, the personality of Godhead, in his personal form as Narayana, disappeared. So in the purport it says, before his activity in creating the universe, Brahma saw the Lord. That is the explanation of the Chatur Sloka Bhagavatam, the 4 nutshell verses of the Bhagavatam. When the creation awaited Brahma's activity, Brahma saw the Lord, and therefore the Lord existed in his personal form before the creation. His eternal form is not created by the attempt of Brahma, as imagined by less intelligent men. So some people believe that Brahma created Krishna. Brahma created everything. The personality of Godhead appeared as he is before Brahma, and he disappeared from him in the same form, which is not materially tinged. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Okay, so now it becomes very clear. Without love for Krishna, one stays in the material world. So our whole purpose is to develop love for Krishna. And that happens when we become serious about devotional service, accept initiation, follow the rules and regulations, and hear more and more about who Krishna is, and how he is the heart of everything. He is the cause of everything, material and spiritual. The more we learn about him, the more we develop attachment to him, and eventually that attachment through service becomes love. Then you are liberated from this material world. Okay, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions? Here we see that the smartest so-called person in the world is actually the dumbest. He has complete misunderstanding of who God is. And he has these very strong beliefs that are wrong, flat out wrong. But most people can't understand that. And therefore they glorify this man. But actually, he's a very, very bankrupt person because he has absolutely zero love of God. He doesn't believe God is a person. So he says that, Einstein says that he is an agnostic. That's not true. Agnostic does not deny the existence of God. They say we don't have any information, but if in the future we get that information, then we may believe in God. Einstein clearly says he doesn't believe in a personal God. So he's lying when he says he's an agnostic. He's trying to make himself look like a good guy, but actually he's a bad guy. And then he doesn't believe there's life after death. That means he doesn't believe there's the law of karma, doesn't believe that Krishna is supreme controller of everything, and he doesn't believe that human beings have free will. We have limited free will. He believes that everything is deterministic. Everything is organized or under the influence of laws of nature, but he doesn't say who the lawmaker is. He denies that the lawmaker is a person. So this is all crazy, loony-toony nonsense stuff. but yet people glorify him. So this is how sad the situation is today. Okay, are there any questions or comments you'd like to make? Okay, look it up. Look it up. Give him the microphone.
There's a YouTube videos.
Okay. Nice.
So, yeah, this is in 1930. There is a conversation that has been captured. So, shall I read
Yeah,
this one?
please.
So, do you, this is Einstein starting. Do you believe in the divine as isolated from the world? Then Tagore, not isolated, the infinite personality of man comprehends the universe. There cannot be anything that cannot be subsumed by the human personality, and this proves that truth of the universe is human truth. I have taken.
These are crazy people talking complete nonsense. Okay, go ahead.
I have taken a scientific fact to explain this. Matter is composed of protons and electrons.
Is that Tagore speaking?
Yeah, this is Tagore still explaining. I have taken a scientific fact to explain this. Matter is composed of protons and electrons with gaps between them. But matter may seem to be solid. Similarly, humanity is composed of individuals, yet they have their interconnection of human relationship, which gives living entity to man's world. The entire universe
Which
is
gives what?
which gives living gives living unity
Unity.
to man's world. The entire universe is linked up with us in a similar manner. It is a human universe. I have pursued this through art, this thought through art, literature, and religious consciousness of man. So that's Tagore summarizing what.
It's all jumbo mumbo nonsense. None of it makes sense. It sounds, oh wow, it's really profound.
Yeah,
But-
basically he's not, he's discarded Paramatma, and he's just basically said as if he's giving the fact. I mean, through scriptures we understand the Paramatma is holding atoms together. Paramatma is holding the humanity in the form of, but he's just simply avoiding all of the detail and then simply saying this is humans are somehow connected through relationships, and that's why it's
Did he
one
mention
unity.
anything about God?
No, I mean, I think as I read further, there is some discussion around it. So there are two, now Einstein is asking the question, there are two different conceptions about the nature of the universe. One, the world as a unity dependent on humanity, and the second is the world as a reality independent of the human factor. So then Tagore is responding, when our universe is in harmony with man, by the way, they put the man M as capital, the eternal, we know it as truth, we feel it as beauty. And then Einstein, this is purely human conception of the universe. So he's kind of summarizing, but that's, then Tagore is responding, there can be no other conception. This world is a human world.
So Tagore said that?
Yeah, the Tagore is
Yeah,
saying that.
complete nonsense guy. They're completely rejecting the existence of a personal God, both of them.
This world is a human world. The scientific view of it is also that of the scientific man. There is some standard of reason and enjoyment which gives it truth, capital T, truth. The standard of the eternal man, again the man is capital man, whose experiences are through our experiences. So they're creating this concept of some eternal
Some,
man,
yeah.
but it's a combination
Some
of the.
mythical man.
So this is, and then Einstein is saying, this is a realization of the human entity. Then Tagore is saying, yes, one eternal entity. We have to realize it through our emotions and activities.
One eternal entity.
Yeah.
Now we're going to Mayavad land.
Yeah, basically it's like one Atma. That's basically what he's getting. we realized the supreme man, again man in a capital M, who has no individual limitations through our limitations. So he's talking about that supreme Atma.
Superman.
Yeah, Superman. The science is concerned with that which is not confined to individuals. It is the impersonal human world of the truths.
Impersonal human world of the truths. That is Mayavad philosophy.
And then religion realizes these truths and links them up with our deeper needs. Our individual consciousness of the truth gains universal significance. Religion applies values to truth, and we know this truth as good through our own harmony with it.
Well, Einstein met someone who's more confused than he is. And knows how to do mumbo jumbo with the language in such a way to confuse everybody.
So then Einstein is asking question. Truth.
He's
then
asking questions like he's his disciple or something. Go ahead.
So Einstein is asking truth. Then our beauty is not independent of man.
Beauty.
Yeah, truth or beauty
Yes.
is not dependent on man. That's the question. Then Tagore is saying no. Then Einstein is saying, if there would be no human beings anymore, the Apollo of Belvedere would no longer be beautiful.
The what?
He's talking about some building, the Apollo of Belvedere. Is that a building or something? So
Might be some Greek.
Belvedere.
Might be
Belvedere.
What?
Belvedere. So it looks like basically it's referring to as if basically it's a marble sculpture. So he's basically saying that if let's say humans are not there, would that Apollo of that marble structure, would it still be beautiful? Basically,
Okay, he's talking about a Greek statue.
Yes. So
What's the answer to that?
the Tagore said no. And Einstein said, I agree with regard to this conception of beauty, but not with regard to truth. And Tagore, why not? Truth is realized through man. Then Einstein.
Is that true? Truth is realized through man? No. Truth is realized through God's instructions. Go ahead.
Einstein then, I cannot prove that my conception is right, but that is my religion. So
That is my what?
my religion, his belief.
His religion that he cannot prove.
He basically says that he cannot prove that his conception is right, but that's what he wants to believe in. That beauty is personal, but truth is independent of man. That's his beauty is in the eyes of
So
the
you see, it's all speculation. There's no facts here. There's no science. It's all speculation. What I believe.
Yeah. He
Right.
himself stated that I cannot prove my conception is right, but that is my religion. And Tagore is responding, beauty is in the ideal of perfect harmony, which is in the universal being.
Universal what? Game?
Universal being.
Being.
Mm.
B-E-I-N-G.
Yes. Beauty is in the ideal of perfect harmony, which is in the universal being. It still doesn't
They're
make
just
sense.
playing with words that all sound good, but actually it's all nonsense. The Nobel Prize for nonsense.
Truth, the perfect comprehension of the universal mind. We individuals approach it through our own mistakes and blunders, through our accumulated experiences, through our illumined consciousness. How otherwise can we know truth? Einstein. I cannot prove scientifically that truth must be conceived as truth that is valid independent of humanity. But I believe it firmly. I cannot prove
Does that
scientifically.
sound like it's science? No, it's not scientific at all.
So he's, just to reiterate, he said, I cannot prove it scientifically that truth must be conceived as truth that is valid independent of humanity. But I believe it firmly. So basically he's saying that there is truth, it is independent of the human experience, but I cannot prove it, but I believe it.
But I believe it.
And he's giving the example. I believe, for instance, that Pythagorean theorem in geometry states that something independent of the existence of man. Anyway, if there is a reality independent of man, there is also truth relative to this reality. And in the same way, the negation of the first engenders a negation of the existence of the latter. So, going back, he's saying there is reality independent of man. There is also truth relative to this reality. And in this, yeah, and if there is a negation of the first, then it engenders the negation of the existence of the latter. So, if one is basically saying that if there is absolute truth, then there is no relative aspect.
Well, he just took us on a trip nowhere.
Yeah, this is that.
And it's all about I believe, meaning it's not scientific. It's I believe. Superstition, it's not fact. You see how these people are phonies? They always say, well, you have to have science, you have to have that. And now they're talking about it, I believe. I can't prove it, but I believe it. This is, the highest type of speculation and nonsense.
And also,
Thank you for reading that.
thank you. Oh,
The next paragraph, right? So the next paragraph, truth. Now Tagore is saying, truth, which is one with the universal being, must essentially be human. Otherwise, whatever we individuals realize as true can never be called truth. At least the truth which is described as scientific and which can only be reached through the process of logic, in other words, by an organ of thoughts which is human. According to Indian philosophy, there is Brahman, the absolute truth, which cannot be conceived by the isolation of the individual mind or described by words, but can only be realized by completely merging the individual in its infinity. But such a truth cannot belong to science. The nature of truth which we are discussing is an appearance. That is to say, what appears to be true to the human mind and therefore is human and may be called Maya or illusion. So, Einstein, so according to your conception, which may be the Indian conception, it is not the illusion of the individual but of the humanity as a whole.
It's not the what?
According to your conception, which may be the Indian conception, it is not the illusion of the individual but of the humanity as a whole, as an entirety.
What of illusion?
Illusion of the entire humanity, basically. Is it an illusion of the individual or is it an illusion of the entire humanity? Basically, he's saying that even the scientific fact, basically what Tagore is saying is that Brahman is above even what we call the scientific facts, because even the scientific fact is part of the Maya that we all perceive. And then
Yeah, you can't perceive the
Brahman, yes. And then Tagore is saying,
Whoa. Thakur won the battle between the two.
He just
He
threw
confused.
another
He
dimension.
confused Einstein.
Einstein.
Einstein's reduced. Einstein's reduced to I believe. I believe. I can't prove it, but I believe it. So Tagore is smarter than Einstein in bewildering people.
That's what the power of Mayavadi.
And in one of the lectures I was listening.
Send me that. Send me that. Go ahead.
And I was listening on one of the audios, ISKCON audios. So they were mentioning during Islamic conquest in India, when they occupied, they destroyed many of the scriptures, and a lot of them they have taken to Arab countries and taken some of our the smart people there, and they translated them into their language. Then during the Europe, went and fought back, right? What is it called? Christians
defeated the Muslims.
A crusade. During the crusade, they took those books back and they got and they converted. Translated them to English and other languages. So a lot of these scientific discoveries they have done. So the origin is from these books. For example, this one, even here it's given here. I read this I listened in the tapes also. The Einstein said, what does the first law of thermodynamics states? According to the law, the energy existing on the earth cannot be destroyed, and it is converted from one form to the other. And later people found out it's already in the Hindu scriptures, pointing about the energy which is everlasting in one form to another, and it's not only applicable science facts but also to human nature. And that sloka is, there has never been, not sloka, the purport, there has never been a time when you and I have not existed, nor will there be a time when we will cease to exist. The Bhagavad Gita. So
yeah, go ahead.
So all of this, they say a lot of these facts were given here. So a lot of his ideas were coming.
Whose ideas?
Even Einstein or a lot of other folks, they're the original ideas. They were taken from
the
Vedas. And he himself, I don't know how far this is true. Here it's given. Did Albert Einstein say anything about Bhagavad Gita? He says he deeply regretted the fact that he should have indulged in Gita in the early formative years of his life. He said, when I read Gita, everything else seems so superfluous. And also, here it says, I am not sure, Einstein states in his letter that he didn't believe in magic. He believed in science and would regularly read Bhagavad Gita. That's why he's confused, like half here, half there. And also that's why he calls himself agnostic, probably, because and on top of it, he might have read mostly Mayavadi versions of Gita and other things.
Yeah, he met the number one Mayavadi, Rabindranath Tagore, who confused him.
So Maharaj, I just a question, like, is it because of this effect of Kali Yuga that everything this nonsense proliferate faster than the truth? Everything bad things people adapt quickly than good things. The bad people get publicity faster than it. So is it because of this yoga effect?
Wow, this is
because for
this
truth,
is
he
yoga.
made him rather than meeting Saraswati Thakur, right? So he could have met Saraswati Thakur, but he didn't. So
well, no, he didn't have the punya. He was, he's coming with all these false ideas. So he meets someone who has even more false ideas than him, and confuses him and reduces him to saying, "Oh, I can't prove it, but I believe it." He's supposed to be a scientist, right? Now he's in the realm of, I can't prove it, but I believe it. I believe it. See, that's not science. So Tagore defeated him with super Mayavad philosophy. You see how clever Tagore was. You know. So anyway, we're hearing these things. Why? So we don't become fooled by all this nonsense. You can see that the Mayavad philosophy is the most dangerous thing in the world. And it's very prevalent in India. And they've spread it around the world. So.
People like these things because they think that was impressive. That's more impressive when they talk like high, heavy words. People get mostly the educated, not the villagers or something, but at least the educated class. Those people will get attracted. Oh, something is very.
No, but what happens is they never develop love for God.
Yeah, that is true.
Tagore, Einstein, all these people. They're always talking about man, man, man. Right? Man is the measure. That was started by Aristotle. So they have no position in spiritual life. They just speculate and use word jugglery. You see? And people are confused by it, and they say, well, I didn't understand a damn thing. There must be the truth.
That's exactly Einstein at the end. He concludes saying that.
What's he say in the end?
What does he conclude?
They never agreed.
No, my religion.
I don't think they said that never.
No,
agreed
he said
together.
I may not, but that's my religion is different.
You know, the way he said Einstein, I'm more religious than you are.
Einstein said that to Tagore. Well, yeah, he realized Tagore's a bigger Mayavadi than he is. No, Tagore defeated him.
Yeah.
He defeated him. He reduced him down to I believe. Unbelievable. Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting, isn't it?
We didn't know that he made actually.
Huh?
We didn't know that Einstein.
You didn't know that, huh? Yeah. That's why you come to class. You learn something new every day. Instead of meeting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he meets Thakur. That means he's a very sinful person. He could have met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and he could have become a devotee.
That is what was my point, Maharaj. Like the truth, the genuine people doesn't get that much publicity than the fake or those people. Otherwise, because that time probably Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur was not that popular that Einstein wants to meet him. Probably Rabindranath Tagore has more popularity.
So in this case, he did, according to this article, when Rabindranath Tagore won the Nobel Prize, he went to Germany. So that's when he invited him to his home.
Who, Einstein?
Einstein.
So he met him in Germany also?
Yeah. So at least this conversation happened in his home.
In the 1930s?
1930.
Before
July
Einstein
14th.
left Germany?
July 14th, 1930.
Yeah, that was before
That is also not included. This Rabindranath Tagore is part of our textbook. He is included for childhood people. They taught Rabindranath Tagore to kids. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur I had never heard until I came to join ISKCON.
yeah, but now
He won the.
Not even Prabhupada. So both actually. To be frank, like I didn't hear about
No,
Prabhupada nor
The
Bhakti
reason why
Siddhanta
Rabindranath
Saraswati
Tagore was popular is because he was the first Indian to win a Nobel Prize.
Who?
So,
Rabindranath Tagore.
no, he's not.
No, Jagdish.
for philosophy, he was the first.
Oh, maybe for philosophy.
But I think Jagdish Chandra Bose.
Yeah, Jagdish Chandra
Yeah,
Bose
he's
was
more
first Indian.
He was a scientist.
Okay, I gotta take rest. I do a lot of things today outside. Haribo. Very interesting.
Yeah. The eye opening.
How people are glorifying their meetings, like online or recorded.
Nonsense. Shri Guru Cherana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bandhamu Isavadana Mate Jai Hara Prasadi Bhai Ye Baba Turiya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Te Te Koriya Kya Harana kori ho mani asha Sri Guru Jerani Rati Ese Uttama Gati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते Hridigai Jahara Cherito Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Jenara Bandhu Lokinath Loke Rajivana Aha Prabhu Koro Doya Deha More Pada Chaya Bijas Gusuk Tribhuvana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Ya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva
Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Dutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Nityai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nityai Gaura Hari Bol The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotion service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three world. We take the shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki.